Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasa Tato Jayamudiraye Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama-shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 10, titled Deliverance of the Yamala Arjuna Trees. Text number 8. Shri Narada Vacha Na Hi Anya Jushataha Joshyan Buddhi Bhramshaha Rajaguna Shrimadai Abhijatyadi Yatra Stri Dyutam Asava. Shri Narada Vacha Nahanya Jushato Joshyan Buddhi Bhramsho Rajoguna Srimadadabhijatyadir Yatra Sri Dyutamasava. Shri Narada Vacha Nanyo Jushato Joshyan Buddhi Bhramsho Rajoguna Srimadadabhijatyadir Yatra Stri Dyutamasava. Shri Narada Vacha Nahanyo Jushato Joshyan Buddhi Bhramsho Rajoguna Srimadadabhijatyadir Yatra Stri Dyutamasava. Srimadadabhijatyadir Shri Narada Vacha Mataji's Shri Narada Vacha Buddhi Bhramsho Rajoguna Srimadadabhijatyadir Yatra Sri Dyutamasava. Shri Narada Vacha. Narada Muni said, No, there is not. He, indeed, Anya, another material enjoyment, Jushataha, of one who is enjoying, Joshyan, things very attractive in the material world, different varieties of eating, sleeping, mating and defense. Buddhi Brahmshaha, such enjoyments attract the intelligence. Rajaguna, being controlled by the mode of passion. Shrimadhat, than riches. Abhijatya Adi, among the four material principles, that is, attractive personal bodily features, birth in an aristocratic family, being very learned, and being very rich. Yatra, wherein, Stri, woman, Dyutham, gambling, Asavaha, wine, that is, wine, women, and gambling are very prominent. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Narada Muni said, among all the attractions of material enjoyment, the attraction of riches bewilders one's intelligence more than having beautiful bodily features, taking birth in an aristocratic family, and being learned. When one is uneducated but falsely puffed up by wealth, the result is that one engages his wealth in enjoying wine, women, and gambling. Purport. Among the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, people are certainly conducted by the lower qualities, namely passion and ignorance, and especially by passion. Conducted by the mode of passion, one becomes more and more involved in material existence. Therefore, human life is meant for subduing the modes of passion and ignorance and advancing in the mode of goodness. Tada rajastamo bhava kamo lobhodayaschaye cheta eter anavidham stitam sattve prasidhati. This is from Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 2nd chapter, 19th verse. This is culture. One must subdue the modes of passion and ignorance. In the mode of passion, when one is falsely proud of wealth, one engages his wealth only for three things, namely wine, women, and gambling. We can actually see, especially in this age, that those who have unnecessary riches simply try to enjoy these three things. In Western civilization, these three things are very prominent because of an unnecessary increase of wealth. Narada Muni considered all this in the case of Manigriva and Nalakuvera because he found in them so much pride in the wealth of their father, Kuvera. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sya Namahom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamine iti namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Evacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaura Kisne Namah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Narada Muni said, among all the attractions of material enjoyment, the attraction of riches bewilders one's intelligence more than having a beautiful bodily features, taking birth in an aristocratic family and being learned. When one is uneducated but falsely puffed up by wealth, the result is that one engages his wealth in enjoying wine, women and gambling. Hare Krishna. So Narada Muni is speaking first time after he saw Manigriva and Nalakuvera completely intoxicated. Why? Because when he saw them, they were sporting with the other women and they were naked. But when the ladies saw Narada Muni, immediately they covered themselves up, because that is an etiquette, a sadhu has come, But Manigriva and Nalakuvera, they were so intoxicated, they were blind to material existence. They didn't even bother. So when Narada Muni saw that, as a sadhu, he naturally had compassion. So usually with compassion you would like to preach. But in this case there was no scope for preaching. But still out of compassion, he thought the only way is to curse them. Before he curses, he is speaking, and there are several verses which is explaining about how conditioned state, a soul, driven by the force of passion, how he lands up in activities which are very sinful, but he thinks he is enjoying. But he gets more and more entangled and he remains here in this material world taking birth again and again. So having that vision, with that compassion, he cursed them. Now this curse was to become not an ordinary tree, Arjuna tree, and that too for how many years? 100 celestial years. Now you know that one day of celestial kingdom or is 6 months of hours. So you calculate for how many thousands of years they were. But at the same time, he had also blessed them by saying that one day you will face Krishna face to face. So Vaishnava or a sadhu, when he curses, it is always a blessing. So I remember In Prabhupada's early days in New York, of course, those people who were coming, they were of the same nature, completely intoxicated. Obviously, Prabhupada didn't curse anyone. He had only compassion. But there is one interesting thing, that many of them in the beginning, they had their weaknesses. They would hear Prabhupada. They were convinced, but because of weakness, they were not able to follow. So after they would leave the room, they would go to the next door restaurant and they would be smoking or maybe, indulging in things which they should not be doing. But then Prabhupada would also be walking. So this restaurant was such that the wall was transparent. So Prabhupada, when he is to go for walk and when he is to come back from his walk, these people are sitting there, smoking or doing, and when they used to just see Prabhupada just passing, Prabhupada can't see them. Immediately that cigarette will fall off from their hand, they would slide and they'll go under the table. Now the owner of the restaurant, he could see them. He can't see what is happening. So he was wondering that why is at some certain time suddenly these people, they drop the things and they slide in their chair, they try to go under the table. So it took time for him to find out. So the point what I want to say is, even though they had all the weaknesses, but they had that repentance in their heart. And that repentance was the qualification. Prabhupada gave all the mercy and instantly, it is not that 100 celestial years. How many of instantly they came to the mode of goodness. And here Prabhupada says in the purport that human life is meant for subduing the modes of passion and ignorance and advancing in the mode of goodness. Means life means to come to the mode of goodness. And in goodness you advance. And that is real happiness. All the so-called happiness which is being propagated, especially as Prabhupada mentions here, Western civilization, mainly indulging in wine, women, gambling, intoxication. When there is an increase of wealth, it is very natural that you go down to the modes of ignorance and then you get entangled. So this is how Prabhupada's way of dealing, because that was his nature and this is how he brought a revolution. He said many times that in the history will be known as, ISKCON will be known for saving the world from going to hell. Well, this is how he did it. People were going to hell. Many, I think years back, we had one Prerna program here by Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. That time, I don't know whether he was brahmachari or sannyasi. There was a class he took on happiness in little. So he was trying to explain, what is little? Little means you don't have any facility. Like you see a picture of, poverty-stricken child. No proper food, no cloth, no shelter. Oh, see, this is poverty, so there is no happiness. So happiness means you provide this and happiness has to come. Means you remove poverty, happiness should be there. Is it true? So then what is happiness in little? Obviously there will be a question, in little how can you be happy? So then the question is, what about if you have riches? So the Western world is full of riches, so much wealth, excess wealth. But how also it is causing pride, arrogance. There is one statement, maybe it's a joke. There was a survey taken and these questions were asked. The statement was, what do you think of, what is your opinion about food shortage in the outside world? So first it was asked to a person from Ethiopia. I mean African, you know what problem in Ethiopia. So when he heard this, he said, what is food? Because for him, food is something which... So the second person asked was a Chinese man. So he read, what is opinion? He didn't understand opinion because you can't speak your mind there. So asked an European. European said, what is shortage? Because they didn't know what is shortage. Because there is so much abundance of food. And finally, American was asked. The American said, what is outside world? We are the world. They were so arrogant and proud that this is what we are. There is no outside. So when there is so much riches, so it is not that when there is riches that there is happiness. So happiness is not based on economic development or what you possess externally. If that was the case, then, in the beginning days, this was one of the lectures which was very appealing to me. The early days when I came first time, and those days the classes would be in the temple hall. Management students would come, and His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj will speak about the overall perspective of a Western society. And obviously, people who are, just passed out, they are thinking the Western world and, this is the goal, it should really go. That's what he really dissected out everything. And that's what is riches. It is not that a rich man he has his own problems, dysfunctional relationships and scandals and abuse and what about mental stress? And what to speak about loneliness and taking to alcohol and alcohol causing accidents. It is said that in America it is not cancer or it is not AIDS. It is not any of these hepatitis disease the cause of death. The number one killer is accidents. And most of the time the accidents are because people take alcohol. And there was a survey done in Australia, and one of the most fearful situations people feel is girlfriends leaving or a spouse leaving, husband, wife. Because of that fear, of course, because of that then violent divorce and all, alimony and also. So there is no culture, just living together. That famous, that lady was doing some thesis. She was very well versed in American culture, PhD. She asked, Prabhupada, Swamiji, you have come here to America. How you are coming here has affected the culture of our country, especially our philosophers, American leaders in the past. There are so many of them. So Prabhupada immediately responded, where is the culture? So how can there be any culture when there is no values, when there is old age homes and what to speak about, so many other things we can go on speaking about, child abuse and so she said, oh no, okay Prabhupada, I will ask you a philosophical question. She wanted to change. So Prabhupada said that what is the use of philosophy if there is no character? So how character, if there is no proper character, what is this so-called advancement? When you advance, but the result is you land up here. So this is what Prabhupada here very clearly says, that this is culture. What is culture? Culture is in conquering the lower modes. That is culture. Not increasing the needs. What is modern culture? No one talks about, obviously no one knows what is passion or what is, how we are bound, and increasing the needs is culture. So new gadgets, new things coming up. So in the Western world, if you see, the most of the time it is just spending. The culture is on only spending. When there is too much, there is so much of waste. I heard that the cars are not used for more than 2 years, so it becomes second-hand cars. So what happens to the second-hand cars? No one buys second-hand cars. So they just pile up and they are crushed and made into pellets, metal pellets. And grains are all, may not be true now, but it was in America, to dump them in the ocean. So excess only leads to insensitivity, there is cruelty, and there is no culture. So does it mean that to be happy you have to be deprived? No, it's not that happiness is dependent on poverty or it is dependent on riches. Happiness is a state of mind. You can be the most happiest person being poverty stricken, or you still can be the most happiest person having all the riches. It is just a state of mind, and that state of mind can be achieved only through this shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam, where Prabhupada is bringing up that verse here in the purport. Tada rajas tamo bhava kamo lobha dayaschaye cheta eter anavidham stitam sattve prasidhati. Prasidhati means in that state a person experiences real joy and happiness. So that is real happiness, where he conquers his lust, his desire, his hankering. Modern culture means hankering. Hankering. What you don't have, hanker. But lust burns like fire. How can your hankering and providing all, it only makes it more and more worse. So no one here in the best of situation, the best, we are so much inclined many times to read magazines of a day in the life of a so-and-so person. It's something attractive. What does he do, What is but I think Maharaj in one of the Bhagavatam class, he had met one similar person. So this is when we hear about some real life cases, we experience that yes, it is not passion. It is not all the riches. This man was very honest because he gave lift to him. This was somewhere in Thailand. Maharaj is walking in the paddy field. This film star, Hollywood star, Mercedes Benz stops. He asks him, "Can I give you a lift?" And in the lift, this is a discussion. He is opening up his heart. He is telling about his lifestyle, that how does he live. All the things he says, what anyone would dream of. But then what is he saying? He sees a farmer there on the paddy field. He is saying that, I would like to live a life like him. He is saying it's not only me, but all others whom I know, the actresses, they are just covering up their feelings within. They are just frustrated. Obviously, because passion cannot make anyone happy. So the point is, Prabhupada here is talking about Western civilization and how that is affecting our culture here. We see that now. You don't have to just walk around any college and you see that how much it has affected the youth here, and it is purely a Western culture. And we think that, well, the free mixing or the dress code, or the food habits, or the language, and the books what you read. But it is said that there are so many things to learn from Western civilization. So many things, the good things. But unfortunately, we absorb the wrong things, but we don't take the good things. Good things like punctuality, discipline, cleanliness, and so many other things we have seen it. Professionalism. But then, not that, behavior in the crowded areas, in a way, ours is, in Western at least countries, people don't push. This is something you can't resist. If you go to a railway station, you just wonder, but I am moving, but why are you pushing me? This is something which we will not change that, but we will adapt that. Yes. What about all other things, illicit things, or the divorce coming up, or the food, the dress code, the music, everything is adapted. This is the unfortunate part which Prabhupada many times would say, that we are very close to Krishna, but then we are going far away from Krishna, and the Western world people are frustrated, exhausted with all these things. They are looking out, is there any solution? And they are looking in this direction. We are very close, but looking there. This is what Prabhupada here saying, that how real culture means it is conquering the lower modes, and that's what is culture. In our country, many times when we use this word culture, people think culture means, dramas, music, poetry, or some sort of dance. Actually, real culture means is the values. What do you believe in? What are your traditions? What is your lifestyle like? What do you eat? How do you treat elders? How you treat your guests? What type of relationships? Gratitude. These things are the one which makes, because it is centered again on this culture. As Prabhupada says here, in the mode of goodness, you have to advance further. When this is connected to service to God with this culture, there is that happiness which can only be spoken about. Only those who are experiencing, they know it. But we aspire that is what is real happiness. So in this purport, Prabhupada, of course, is making this point about how our Indian or Vedic culture means how it has always been a very simple living and high thinking. High thinking means thinking about liberation, thinking about how many of the modern world think about that human life is high thinking, but same time simple living. Now, simple living not necessarily means poverty stricken. Of course, each person will have his own standard of living. That will be a big debate. It's a relative thing. But there is a very nice story about how this king, his minister was in the mode of goodness, and this king was obviously in the mode of passion. So mode of passion means he is hankering, and this thing was going on. But he saw the minister that was living under a tree. So he told him that, well, I can make a house for you. So the minister replied, my dear king, I don't want what you have, but you need what I have. So this is how the minister replied. And it's a very profound statement, because he was in goodness, so he was experiencing. But the king was thinking happiness means I had to give him a house. He is living under a tree. So this is how vision is developed. Of course, many times there's an argument. Of course, once you have already the riches, well, this is mine. It belongs to me. But he had said that a person who is not educated, as here it is said in the purport, is not educated, he will go down in the mode of passion. When he has which we see it. I mean, we have seen it that a person who has no proper culture and then he gets a lot of money, what he does with the money? I think Govind Prabhu was saying that the farmers, they have sold their land and they squandered all the money, and then they have to take a humble servant's job in the person whom he has sold the land, because they lost all the money and they don't know, because they don't know how to handle it. So this is how. So this minister, the minister knew about. So he was a good advisor. But same thing, of course, detachment is not so easy to develop, but at least that knowledge is there. So even when there is a riches, you understand that whom it belongs to. Of course, Ishopanishad says, many Shastras says, but there's one very nice episode where that Akbar always used to like to keep scholars. So he had very scholars, and Birbal was one of them. And one time Birbal saw that Akbar was a little proud of his wealth. So he disguised as a mendicant. and he was just lying on the street. And Akbar was passing, and Akbar was a little distracted, annoyed by this mendicant. So the mendicant didn't look up, so Akbar was upset, and he asked, "Do you know who I am? You know whom it belongs to, this palace?" So this mendicant, who was disguised as Birbal, he said, "Whom it belongs to? It belongs to me." So he asked, "Before you were born, whom did it belong to?" "Oh, it belonged to my father." "After you die, whom will it belong to?" "My children." So Birbal started laughing. He said, "This is not a palace." "What are you talking? This is not a palace? Then what is it?" "This is Dharamshala." Just like the yatris are coming and going, but the place is still there. So that time Akbar understood, oh, this has to be Birbal. Only Birbal can. So he came back to his senses, yes. So this things is just an intoxication. In the beginning, very early days, of course, I remember once one student asked Maharaj, "Maharaj, what is wrong in drinking beer?" Beer is very appealing question for young, because beer is something, क्या है? अरे beer है यार, कुछ नहीं है beer. So this was a question. What is wrong in drinking beer? Because it was spoken about, intox. So he gave an answer. I didn't understand that time. The question was very appealing to me also. I want to know what is he going to say. He said, "You are already intoxicated. Why are you making it worse?" So now your already intoxicated word didn't strike me. So it really took time for me to understand that what is real intoxication. Is it just taking something, or these modes of, things what belongs to us and we want to enjoy it, and that nasha. That nasha is in that intoxicated. I don't think anyone is willing to take any advice. Even if good advice comes, oh come on, it's okay, So intoxicated. So this is real intoxication, that whatever, maybe your own, maybe some abilities, strength, or you become very intoxicated. And that intoxicated. So Kunti Maharani says that akinchana gocharam means it is not that you have to be materially poverty stricken. It has to be just a feeling from within that nothing belongs to me. This is at least knowledge. To develop that type of a realization will be the real peace and happiness. There is one very nice thing about how Vedic culture, how people were very self-content. So this is King Maruta. When Brahmanas would come, he would donate them. And what will be the donation? Golden plates. Not just very heavy golden plates. Now that is his dharma, that he has to do charity, and he would give golden plates. And these Brahmanas, they would carry the golden plates. While carrying it, they will be thinking, what am I going to do with this? He's a Brahmana. He is fully satisfied with what he has. But he has given it, I have to accept it. So on the way, while they are going, what they will do? They just throw it. And they will just walk out. And it's just lying there. Now, the citizens also knew that the Brahmanas have thrown these plates here. The people knew about it. But no one go to pick it up. Because everyone is so self-satisfied with what they have that no one. But remember, this is what Yudhishthir Maharaj sent Arjuna to go and collect. Because he knew, and of course Yudhishthir Maharaj, he wanted to raise funds for the sacrifice, not for any other purpose. But that is the time he said, go and collect. I heard that there are gold lying here at these areas. He had gone to, that's how Arjuna got the name Dhananjaya. He went and, so some idea about what exactly, Vedic culture really, so satisfaction in whether you are a rich man or a poor man. Today is a very auspicious day. So in very short, because this is a great opportunity, a privilege, and to speak on Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Prabhupada says culture, so Bhaktivedanta Thakur, I am sure all of you know, all are familiar. So much is spoken. I mean, this is not something to be spoken in few minutes. There are volumes and volumes. But to be very short, that he is one of the Acharya, descending down, who came here to promote Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. The unique thing about Bhaktivedanta Thakur is he showed the world that you can be a very respectable and very responsible person in the society and still you can be a devotee of Lord. This was his life, how he showed it. Very amazing life, something very inspiring. You all have, how he used to spend his. So this is how he was a district magistrate, a judge during the British in Jagannath Puri, and every day he would have so many cases to handle. But one thing about him is any other ordinary person who would take half an hour for deciding a case, he will do it in 5 minutes. Now how is that? Because his mind was clean. There is no passion. In that clean, everything you see very clearly. You can see who is innocent and who is a culprit, who should be punished and who should be rewarded. I remember many years we had a seminar in our hospital, so we, just to inspire the doctors from visiting doctors. This was just the days when mobile had just come, and the mobile with a big one with an antenna like this. And the doctors were attending, they will make it a point to show others that I also have a mobile. When it rings, they would walk out. So this is how. So again, Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj was giving class. So he wanted to know if any one of you thinking that what has spirituality to do in my profession. He said that it will make your mind so clear that if there is any confusion about diagnosing a disease, you can be like this. Of course, anytime when a doctor comes to seminar, he'll first question, "Mere practice mein kaise kaam aayega?" Means money, How is it going to help? This is the question. Because those days, ancient days, the Vaidya, this is what doctor's profession. He will be sitting in a cottage. But even sitting in a cottage, he will see the patient just walking in, he would say, what is the diagnosis? Because he are so clear. So he would get just the way. So this is how Bhaktivedanta Thakur was so clear. Within 5 minutes. So the British people were so, they didn't want to give him because he was so valuable that even when he wanted to retire, they said, no, you are not going to retire. They arranged for a train carrier, especially from his home to the court so that he can reach on time. Such a big Acharya. You want to know how he spent his time? I'll first say that he used to sleep for 3 hours. He used to write for 8.5 hours, very precise. 8.5 hours he will do all the writing. Japa and studying Shastra, 4.5 hours. And how many hours is to work? 6 hours, quite big. Now you just think how he studied. It's something, I don't know how. Means that 6 hours he'll work, but the rest of the 18 hours, every second of his time, he would be either preaching, counseling, writing, studying, doing japa, or just taking food, So his resting time would be, because evening time would come from his office, 8 to 10 he would rest. That is 2 hours. Now 10 o'clock he'll get up. 10 to 4 he'll just write. 6 hours he'll write. And there are hundreds of poems and bhajans and translations and so many things he has written about the real essence of Vaishnava philosophy, the nature of love. And then for 4 to 4:30, half an hour he'll take a rest. And then again 4:30 to 7. Now this is the very crucial time. 4:37 he will chant. He will be completely absorbed in his chanting. And 7 to 7:30 morning, only correspondence work. And that time he would be just little, walking here and there. But correspondence, mainly correspondence. And then 7:30 to 9:30, 2 hours in the morning, there will be guests coming, there will be people coming for help, he will be counseling them, he will be preaching to them, and same time you will be studying Shastra during these 2 hours, 7:30 to 9:30. Then 9:30 to 10, he had half an hour to do his, take prasad, whatever, little milk, and then take the carriage, go to the court, 10 to 1, see, again 1 to 2 you'd come back for rest. Again 2 to 5 again in the court. Then 5 to 7, he would just write, he would translate all the Sanskrit into Bengali, Sanskrit, Bengali, Sanskrit, so many, that is 5 to 7. And 7 to 8 again, then 8 to 10, rest. Then again this. So, something very inspiring, at least the prasad time, at least you can think how much time we spent taking prasad. I'm sure this is Mahabhagavat, but of course this lifestyle is for us to get inspired. So this is how Bhaktivedanta Thakur's life was. Not only that, he had 10 children, and all of them were nourished at all levels, physically, emotionally, spiritually. His wife also was in the same mood, Bhagavati. Imagine 10 children, and they were all of them were devotees. And one of them, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So this is Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Not only that, along with this, in days in Jagannath Puri, the British government said that you have to be the superintendent of Jagannath Puri temple. They didn't find anyone else. So before he took up the responsibility, it was all in a mess and all, and he took it up. Everything became very efficient. This temple services, there was no ISO that time, but he was so efficient that Jagannath Puri temple was known all over India as one of the best managed temple and efficient. That was because of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So this is how in his own life, he is to say that when I used to come home and I see all my children are engaged, I used to see Golok Vrindavan. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur, as the culture says, he used to associate with sadhus. He was very charitable, very generous, compassionate. You know that he was Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, Jagannath Das. These are the people whom he was, and he used to worship Gaur Gadadhar deities. And today happens to be also Gadadhar Pandit's disappearance day. So again, Gadadhar Pandit, not different from Radharani. Again, the question will come that when Gauranga Mahaprabhu is there, then why one more Radharani? Gauranga Prabhu is Krishna and Radha. Well, Radha has unlimited forms. So this is one form. She specially came to be with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it is said that he came 1 year later. So he was 1 year younger to Nimai Pandit. But they were such close companions, inseparable. But there was a difference in both of them. Nimai Pandit has not revealed his glories, why he had comes. I can take 5 more minutes. Just because I know I'm crossing that. So Nimai Pandit would be always arguing. For any question, he will give a very materialistic answer. He'll ask, what is mukti? So Gadadhar Pandit will say, mukti means to overcome material sufferings. Nimai would give some other answer. So Gadadhar Pandit would feel that, why is he like this? He's such a nice, he should become devotee. So they would be all praying that, when will he become? And he becomes a devotee. After coming from Gaya. And you see that Nimai is just always looking out for Krishna. Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? And once Gadadhar Pandit goes to Nimai's house and Nimai is crying out, please tell me, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is he gone? So Gadadhar Pandit, his friend, he said, Krishna is in your heart. So immediately he, with his nails, he pounced on his chest and wanted to rip open his heart to see the Lord within. Everyone were, it was a very panic situation for the mother and all. No one could stop him. And that is the time Gadadhar Pandit said, please calm down, Krishna is coming. So when he said Krishna is coming, he calmed down. That was noticed by Sachi Devi, and she said, Gadadhar, henceforth you should be always there with my son. So this way they were inseparable. In all the Sankirtan and this, you see that always Gadadhar is there next to him and dancing. Of course, these pastimes are at a very high level. It is the culture of love, purely transcendental love, there is nothing else. So in the course of time, we all know that how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas and he went to Puri, and Gadadhar also took sannyas, was in Puri. He took Kshetra sannyas. Kshetra sannyas means you cannot leave the deities and you cannot leave the place. And he was there in Tota Gopinath temple, which is very close to Jagannath Puri temple. So once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu announced, he said, I am going to Vrindavan. So Gadadhar said, I am also coming with you. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, how can you come? You have taken Kshetra sannyas. You cannot leave the territory and you cannot leave the deities. So he said, just seeing your lotus feet, he is worshipping Tota Gopinath million times. And wherever you are, that is Jagannath Puri. And who cares for Kshetra sannyas? He said, no, that's not possible. All the blame will come to me, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that because of me you broke the principle. So Gadadhar Pandit said, okay then, I will see that I will take all the blame myself, and if that is the case, then I will not come with you. I will go separately. So no one knows that I went with you. So for a long distance, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going, Gadadhar Pandit was also, but not with him, separate. But then at one time the boat came and he told Gadadhar Pandit, look Gadadhar, what you are doing is for your happiness. I am not happy by this. So you should go back. You can't come with me. I just boarded the boat, he didn't even look back. And Gadadhar Pandit had so much love for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he just fell down unconscious. And before doing, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Sarvabhauma, just take him back to Jagannath Puri. So he fell unconscious. When he came back to consciousness, Sarvabhauma is saying, Gadadhar, why are you feeling this pain? You know how fortunate you are. The Lord loves you so much that He, to just protect your vow, He is willing to go through this pain of separation. Because you have taken a vow, just like how Krishna, to protect Bhishma's, he lifted up the weapon, because Bhishma said that I will see that Krishna tomorrow will lift up weapon. So Krishna was willing to, just to see that his words. So this is how Gadadhar Pandit stayed back, but then in separation he became old very fast. He was becoming so fast old, his hair started graying, and so he was finding difficulty in worshipping the Tota Gopinath. He used to struggle to put the crown, his hands would not extend because he had become old, he had just dilapidated. So one day he was trying to stretch himself to put the garland over Tota Gopinath. He was just trying, but it was not going up above the head. He was trying, pushing, struggling. The most amazing thing happened. Never heard before like this can happen. And this is the only deity like this. Tota Gopinath sat down. He squatted and he put it, and that deity is still there in Jagannath Puri temple. And this way Gadadhar was known for reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would just go into trance and he would be just saying, say again, say again. This is again a Vedic culture where people develop taste for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. We used to hear Dhruv Maharaj's Katha, Prahlad Maharaj's Katha, say again. Then in his life, he was so much in separation that whenever he used to read Srimad Bhagavatam, tears would be flowing and all the ink would get smudged. So the Bhagavatam had to be again printed again. Srivas Acharya came, and so this is Gadadhar Pandit's day, and this is what is culture at different level. As one is Bhaktivedanta Thakur, showing us that whoever you are in the society, you have no excuse not to become a devotee. This is culture. and a transcendental loving exchange, a culture of love between Gadadhar and Lord. What a pure love. Huh? So this is, today is a very auspicious day, Tirobhav Divas, disappearance day. Keeping all these things in our mind, we can also see that how it is only a devotee's mercy can bring real mercy. Devotee's words. For example, because Narada Muni had cursed, Krishna remembered that Narada Muni had cursed and also given a benediction that you will see Krishna face to face. So now Krishna had to keep that word. So he specially came down with that wooden mortar behind his back, smashed, the tree collapsed, and those Manigriva, Nalakuvera came up with their demigod form. For those 100 celestial years, they had all the remembrance of their sinful activities. Just imagine what a torture it must be. They were remembering everything and they had no facility to do anything. They are just standing there. Because they were naked, he said, you'll be like trees. And you're just waiting. Imagine waiting. You have a desire, but you can't do anything. But then it turned into a benediction, and then they are offering prayers. It will come in the subsequent verses where they are offering prayers, pure devotional prayers, only because Narada Muni cursed them. So Prabhupada has not cursed any one of us. Prabhupada said, very simple. Just by following these 4 regulatory principles, you immediately come to the level of mode of goodness. He said that. Just follow these 4 regulatory principles, whatever level you are in, ignorance, passion. And what happens when you start chanting at that level? You go beyond goodness. Shuddha Sattva. This is the benediction Prabhupada gave. That's why he said, chant and be happy. Now be happy. Gauranga Prabhu that day, Sunday class, you were saying, many of us very nicely feel very, now I am devotee and chant and be happy. He said, now begins hard work. Unless you perspire working very hard. Working hard for what? Same, how to control the lower modes. Passion by mode of goodness. For example, trying to chant attentively is not an easy thing. You have to really perspire. Then yes, you're doing. Of course, he was in relation to Yashoda. Yashoda was perspiring. You saw the perspiration Krishna felt. Yes, she is working very hard. So this is in essence about Prabhupada in purport what he is trying to say. This culture means to conquer the lower modes and come to higher mode. This is real civilization. This is what is real advancement. This is what is real happiness. And this is what we are trying to propagate. Thank you very much. I sincerely apologize. I tried that I can finish, but then today, anyway, there is no prasad. Today is your fasting, so no problem. For exceeding my fine. Any comments? If you have anyone, Gaur Gopal Prabhu, anything. So thank you very much. So Bhaktivedanta Thakur Tirobhav Mahotsav ki, Gadadhar Pandit Tirobhav Mahotsav ki, Bhagavad Puran ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna.